I'll make this video for my future self and whoever I will surround myself with in the future. So today I just had a conversation with three of my cousins, and we realized, because maybe if a family member knows that it was the three of us that, talking together on a cafe, they're probably gonna say something stupid like, oh, of course, they're all the same, like they're the rebel kids, they're the crazy kids, they're the, uncontrollable kids. But really, when we were talking, I realized that we share a same wound, and it terrifies me, because even with such a different situation from each of us, like let's say me myself, like I never really get to know my father. So my mom is a single mom and she have a temper, and then there's this my cousin who's still have two parents, and they have like four other siblings. And there's also one of my cousin as well who his mother recently passed away. And there's a lot of like family dynamic that go on that is kind of like similar but also different. It's really weird for me to digest, especially now. I still don't know how to put it into words and all, but I realize I have to make this video because today I declare that I will try with every fiber of my being to stop this cycle. It is so harmful and it hurts a lot of us. And for once, knowing that I am not alone, it doesn't put me at ease. It terrifies me, really. I feel like I don't even wish this on my worst enemy. But I see it everywhere, I know that we are not the only family who's going through this or have to navigate through this. I know that, and that terrifies me. That doesn't calm me down at all. And yeah, I declare that I will try for my future self and for everyone who I will be with, Maybe it's the friends who became family, or maybe it's a family that I built on my own, or maybe it's my cat. I don't know. Just anything, Anyone, any living things, even a plant, I feel like. And the reason why we gather, like three of us, because one of my cousins just got back from another city to town, and we finally got together again after like 2 years, I suppose. And like me personally, in this home, I heard a lot of like belittling words about my cousin and about my other cousin as well. And turns out they all hearing the same, like this family is belittling me, but like we're all family, but like because my grandma have 5 kid. I don't know why I'm speaking like this, but like my grandma have 5 kids, so there's 5 families, right? But we're all under the same family. But yeah, turns out most of these siblings, who is my uncle, my aunties, and including my mom, they share the same what's it called, fragility. They share the same, maybe pain as well, because it's generational thing. They share the same traits. pass down to their children, and we don't know that my cousin are feeling the same thing. Turns out it was so similar. And I went to therapy. My cousin went to therapy, and my other cousin went to therapy. And this, I don't know if this is the same therapist. We never really talk about it, but like, I suppose it's 3 different therapists, because I think it is 3 different therapists, and they all say the same thing. Like, for this cousin, the therapist saying, "Oh, you're trying to chase the validation of your father," and then my therapist is also saying that all your life you've been trying to get your mom's attention, and then my other cousin as well. Like, it's crazy, like, it's so hard for me to process that generational trauma is so connected with one another, even though we all seem distant from each other. I never thought that we are going through the same thing. And these cousins of mine, we are on the same age range, on the same generation, and I feel like, when I was talking to them, I feel like, oh my God, I can't believe that we are here gathering as an adult now, being so mature that we see all this behind the facade, of our parents, of this old people at home, of this adult that we used to look up. Because I feel like the moment that we only get together, we were still kids. We were still a kid, and we have this sort of like, because they infused us with it, an image that we should see in these adults, and we believed it, and in such a long time. I feel like my conversation is going anywhere now, but I don't really have a note on what I wanted to say, but yeah, it's just scary. Generational trauma is so scary, and the more we talk about it, the more we share our story, the more we see the resemblance. We try to dig into, my grandma and her husband and how she was raised. And turns out this pain is so ancient. What the I feel like, because I don't believe in ghosts, but this is a living proof of ghosts. They exist. They are a pain in the ass. They might not move, like chairs on its own, but it is drilling you on the inside to each of the family member on each family tree. That is a ghost. Maybe not in shape of just one singular person who started all. I doubt that it was only one person who started all. This is so ancient. And, me and my cousin, we could only trace it up until 2 generations. So like our generation, our father and mother's generation, and then another generation on top of that. So like maybe 3 generations. We could only trace so far. And like on the 3rd generation, we are already like hearing, maybe they are the way they are because of the war, and all that, and because it was a tough time and all. And what I realize is 3 of us, me and my cousins, we are all so empathic towards it all. It's a good trait that we share, but I feel like we are so empathic because we were put in a situation, confusing, hard to digest, hard to go through situation for a kid. We have to witness these adults who, put themselves on this persona that they are powerful, that they are important, that they are right, righteous. We witness all of that, and As we grow up, we started to see like cracks the more we expose ourselves to the world outside. Because here's the thing about my family specifically, these adults, right? The second generation. As me and my cousins get older, it's like they just concluded in their head, like, oh, I already know how the world works, you know. Even though there's so many development, obviously, like the internet is a big thing, and then all these technologies, it is also a big thing. But somehow, the second generation, they just snap it in their head. I don't know in what point of their life. But my uncle, my mom, my other uncle, they are all convinced that they know how to navigate through the world, what is good and what is bad, and they are so outdated. And they stuck in there. It's like they stop in one point of their life and constantly stay there, when really life is a stream. It's moving, but it's like they hold themselves by force, and I feel like that force is rooted from the pain that we all have been carrying through generation to generation, you know. That is the force. And a lot of the second generation in our family, they let that force unknowingly, I bet it's unknowingly, held them in their feet. And it eats them alive, or rather, it sucked them until they slowly drown. The more they drown, the more they just doesn't see anything anymore, you know. Like when I try to tell my mom, when I try to communicate with my mom, when my cousin try to communicate with my uncle, which is his dad, you know, it's like they don't hear us because maybe they're underwater. So when we, the younger generation, try to say something, open a discussion, maybe they just hear like a wobbly, you know, where it's just like a funny SpongeBob analogy, because I don't want this conversation to be depressing. It is depressing enough. I don't need the way I talk to be, you know, more sad. I am already sad inside. If I could rip my heart open, but thank God I can't, because I feel like if I could rip my heart out, shit. I think I'm also afraid to look inside, to be honest. So yeah, you know, and I don't know if that conversation was over or not, but I sort of like forget about it already. You know, I have like a very short memory, and I feel like that is like a response. I feel like I need it. I need to forget to survive. It's like my survive mechanism. Now I forget again what I wanted to say after saying all that. God damn. Oh, I remember it now. One thing that I also know about my cousins, what they share, is that they are all chasing money. They are so hardworking. They are doing everything, but not in a good sense, because it harmed them mentally, and there is so much sacrifice that they have to do in order to acquire the money. And here's the thing, it is not actually the money that they are chasing, but rather the validation that this money can offer. Two of my cousins believe that if they have enough money, maybe they will be hurt. Maybe they will finally be valued, or maybe they can, it's a way to prove themselves that, they are not this stupid kid, or they are not this rebel kid who will never success because they didn't listen to the parent. Like, it's all about proving. And I see how hardworking my cousins are. And I'm afraid that we all realize, even though we have the money, and some of my cousins already have the money, they know that they won't get what they're actually looking for. Yeah, the family will talk more nicer to you. The family sort of respect you. But it's not like the sincere form of validation, turns out. And it's so sad to even know that there is basically nothing that we could do to just acquire the love that we deserve. Because I feel like me and my cousins, we know what kind of love that we deserve, what kind of love that we've been yearning since we were a kid. But we've always been taught that we have to acquire it, that love, that we have to prove ourselves. And this is one of the points that just sort of slapped me in the face. I think this like last year realization that turns out power is the currency in my family. There's this very strict hierarchical order in the house, like who held the biggest power, and who's on the second base of it, and then the third base of it, and so on and so on and so on. And that power is defined by lots and lots of things: wealth, health, all that. It is a currency. So a lot of growing up, I see my family shape-shifting to family members a lot. Let's talk about this one case where my uncle used to be very wealthy. I'd say like 15 to 20 years ago. He was very wealthy. He is the most successful, wealthiest man in the family. But he is cocky, very cocky. This man is my cousin's father. Very cocky, loves to belittle people, But somehow everyone in the house, or I don't know, maybe because I observed it as a kid back then, but from my perspective as a kid, even then, these adults seem to contain themselves so well, like they suppress all of that, when other family members are like offended by his word and all that. They suppress it all. Even my mom, even my grandma. But then, fast forward 15 years, now, today, that same uncle is hitting like a rock bottom. So his financial suddenly just dropped. My family, who used to sort of like serve him, except when he belittled one of my family member, now they're all talking back to him. Now they're not showing that same respect anymore. Now they're talking shit about each other's back. They're eating each other's up, And this is just one case of many in this family. And I realize the reason why my family is starting to talk back, not because they practice communication. No. It is not a healthy communication at all. It was because power. My uncle, in this day and age, lost the power that he used to have 15 years ago. So, like, from that, sadly, I hate this fucking, this stairs, this fucking triangle of position, this hierarchical order, but it's there. I'm so sorry, but it's there. And it's like my uncle went from at the tip of the triangle down to the lowest. And now my mom is pushing herself up and up and up with so much anger that she has suppressed for so long. It's so funny to see that, again. I feel like they're eating each other up, and they're siblings, literal siblings. Sometimes I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? And sometimes I try to tell my mom, like, because my mom loves to talk shit about others, because obviously it makes her feel better about herself. And I hate talking like this about my mom, but that is just the truth. The sad, ugly truth. It's a whole other story on why my mom do that, why my mom is so hungry for power, for validation. It's because of my dad. And ever since they divorced, she is trying her best to prove herself that she is doing fine, that she is okay, that she is this amazing, strong woman who rose up from the dead, without doing the inner work. Sometimes I wish that I could come up to my mom in around that age and just talk to her, But maybe nobody really talks to her back then. Or rather, it's the people around her, the mindset at that time. So yeah, she never really knew how to actually heal from the inside without just like putting a facade, putting a mask of being healed, of being strong. And culturally, as a Macassan, pride is something that literally get people killed. And now this is literally, I feel like, okay, pride, yes, in a complex situation with a complex narrative, it does become like the initial thing that sort of like lead people into having conflicts and then fights, and then maybe on the worst case scenario someone is getting killed. But here, literally, pride, they even use it as a tagline. Siri. And you know how Siri works? Pride. Here, if you are not protecting your family's pride, your mother's pride, your name's pride, your kingdom's pride, you will either get exiled. That is good. If you get exiled, good for you. Or someone will come to your way and end you right there and then. So that is why there is a lot of couple who's, they're running from home to get married. Because sometimes when there is like a woman in the house and somebody from another family comes and wanted to propose, sometimes the family rejects them because their pride. Maybe this family is from social status is more lower. Again, it's about the perspective. I don't believe this shit, okay? I'm just explaining what they see, how they operate. Yeah, maybe they think that their social status is lower than them, or maybe even to my mom, you know, when she wanted to remarry, my grandmother was like, what do you want? Why would you want with that man? He is literally driving a motorcycle. He doesn't even have a car. Rejects him. And just like that, she listened. She was like, but she is carrying that shit, my mom. Carrying that grief. Because now she's all alone. And she blamed so many people for where she is, even though she's trying her best to also look good for the pride. But inside, it's eating her alive, and there's a lot of contradiction within her. And I believe the pain must have been so great. You know, when I'm talking like this, without really inserting my point of view as a child, I understand her very much. And I sympathize with her. But when I put myself in, when I find out that I am the product of all of that suppressed emotion, I couldn't understand her as a kid. I could only understand her so far as a woman. The grief she went through. But not as a kid. Never as a kid. Never. And this is why I promise for the life of me to be a better parent. And there is a weight in saying that, you know, because I have this big fear that maybe one day, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I will wake up realizing I am exactly like my mother, that I failed to stop the cycle, and I've been carried by it unconsciously. Because I know awareness is not all it takes to, you know, get out of this intergenerational trauma. Awareness is not enough. And that is why I declare from today, I will try with every fiber of my being to stop it. Not just being aware, but to actually work for it. I will try my best to be a successful musician who can live from music, so that I could pay a therapist, so I could go to a Muay Thai class, and not being a drunk girl who's just picking a fight with the nearest people, who's saying the wrong thing. Because that just happened to me recently, and it happened multiple times, by the way. Like, I would call them crash outs.